Hello, everybody. My name is Graham Elwood, and you are watching The Political Vigilante, bringing truth up from the outskirts of Gotham City, somewhere below Wayne Manor. One of the things we talked about with Ukraine is I really want to focus on America's involvement in this. I'm not excusing anything Putin has done at all, but the reason I want to focus on this because nowhere in the American media is this. You're not the BBC, not CNN, Fox, MSNBC. Nobody is talking about America's involvement. Now, what this country, America, is doing is, there's this thing to keep Americans divided, which is picket team, red team, blue team. And, if Trump was president, this wouldn't happen. If Biden was, so each side is trying to say this or that. But I just want to show you how the only side that the United States has in is war for profit. I mean, I'm going to show you, I've shown you before, but I'll show it to you in a second, that the defense industry has donated $49 million in the 2020 campaign to both parties, right? So when I hear like the right saying, oh, if Trump would have gotten this never would have happened if Trump was president or whatever, is preposterous. I didn't vote for Trump. I didn't vote for Biden. So this is from 2019. Trump administration approves new sale of anti-tank weapons to the Ukraine. The Trump administration first approved the sale of javelins to the Ukraine in 2017. Right? Right? This is from this article. The Trump administration has approved the $39 million sale of defensive lethal weapons to Ukraine, according to two U.S. officials. This is again back in 2019, but the sales under Trump went back as far as 2017. Why is this all about war? Because look at this map. I've shown you this map before. So these are all the American bases that surround China and Russia. Okay. So there's Ukraine right there. That's why we got to get a base on this border right here. These are NATO bases that keep moving east. This is Turkey. This is Kazakhstan. Like we surround these countries, right? So this is also a lot of, just think of this, it's very applicable. Just put a dollar sign where all of these bases are. This is the defense industry. This is the military industrial complex. This is a lot of money that gets spent to do this. So we need to create bad guys. Again, not excusing anything Putin is doing, but we provoked him into this, right? How do I know it's all about money? Well, this is from Open Secrets. This is in 2020, the top recipients from the defense industry. Joe Biden, $3.1 million. Trump, $2.7. So it wouldn't have mattered whoever won, right? And had Trump won, so everybody on the neoliberals, like, if you vote for Trump, we're going to have World War III. Now that Biden is off, the neoliberals are like, yeah, World War III, let's go for it. Like, this is how crazy Americans are and how crazy they've been propagandized. Both sides love war when their guy does it. But even Bernie Sanders got $837,000, right? I mean, this is just the top 10. These are all these members of the Senate. Look at all this money, Senate and the House. They hedged their bets. So war was going to happen no matter what. Here's the bottom 20. Elizabeth Warren, right? All these presidential candidates, just in case. Pete Buttigieg, just in case. Look at all that money spent. There's a lot of money to be made in a war in Ukraine, in a new Cold War. And that's why the narrative out of the United States media is Putin's just nuts. Whoa. That's why there's no mention of like, our causing this. Here's something else that just happened in the news that is a part of this. In a nod to Russia, Ukraine says no longer insisting on NATO membership. This just, right? Now this is from a France 83. So they flip it in Europe. So this was March 8th. This just happened 2 days ago. No one's talking about this. Well, because this is bad for business. Because if Zelensky goes, you know what? I'm being played by America and the West. You know what? I don't want this war anymore. Hey, Putin, pull out of my country. I won't join NATO. I'll send the NATO weapons back. I won't have any missiles on Ukrainian soil. Stop bombing me. Maybe we'll call the Donbass region because that's one thing Putin has asked for. What if that happens? What if Ukraine goes, I don't want NATO anymore. Putin just leave, stop bombing us. And Putin goes, okay. Uh-oh. Then what do we do? Then literally like the schoolyard, like we'll push Zelensky back into Putin. You know what I mean? We'll just be like, oh, Putin, did you hear what Zelensky said about your girlfriend? You know, like we'll just try to get that fight going no matter what. Because America is actually, this isn't in the Western media. America potentially could be leading itself up to getting completely isolated. We talk about Russia as being isolated. I just want to show you this map again. Let's go back to this map real quick. We think everyone's against Russia. Well, Russia and China are now together. India and Pakistan have actually said, we're not going to join. India and Pakistan are in agreement. Iran and Iraq, again, those countries all have centuries-long wars, are all joining. This is a pretty big alliance that could go against the West. Zelensky, again, I just showed you that. That was this is a French neoliberal, pro-NATO, Putin bad outlet posted this, but this isn't, you're not seeing, Rachel Maddow's not talking about this. They're not talking about this in CNN. And then this, right? So our gas prices are going high, and Americans, we're being told, just suck it up at the pump to stick it to Putin. Really? Well, Saudi, the Emirati leaders, and the UAE decline calls with Biden during the Ukraine crisis. This was in the Wall Street Journal. Persian Gulf monarchies have signaled they won't help ease surging oil prices unless Washington supports them in Yemen and elsewhere. Weird. So maybe all of these countries that have had to get pushed around by the United States and had to do business with the United States, they might just bail. Zelensky might be talking tough. I mean, Zelensky's also said, I don't like NATO. What's that going to do? And as I said, this is all about money. So I'll bring Ron on to talk about it. We'll talk about this in a second, but host of Get Your News On with Ron. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the Political Vigilante, Ron Placone.
Hi, Graham. How are you?
I'm good, buddy. Thank you for taking time out of your packed, important day to join us here on the Political Vigilante. So what do you like? Obviously, this is. I'm just mainly pointing from the Western side. Now, people can make a fair arguments that, well, Russia and Ukraine have had history for centuries, and that has something to do with this. We talked about earlier about, the Putin not liking that there's neo-Nazis there, but just from the American standpoint, again, this is all about this country is run by the military-industrial complex, and that's why Congress just approved a $768 billion war budget. That's a democratically controlled Congress voted for that. The democratically controlled Senate gave an extra $10 billion to it. So now Biden has $778 billion for the war budget just for calendar year 2022. And this is so much of us pushing this in is about war. And this is what America does. We do proxy wars, and we get puppet governments to just so we can profit from it. And the Ukrainian people need to know that the American government, the American State Department, does not give a shit about them at all.
They need to know they're being used as a pawn, because that's exactly what's happening. I mean, the United States is using them as a pawn, just the Ukrainian people and everything. And, there's other ancillary things going on here that, aside from everything you just mentioned, I guess it's my show now. All right, good. I'm taking over. It's about time. Graham's gone. Good. Where's Graham? Is he still here? Did something bad happen? Or did he just put me on a solo? Are you back?
No, sorry. There you
go. Well, I just wanted to make sure you didn't bail.
Yeah, take care, man. Ron, close out the show and
close out the show.
Patreon. I'm out.
Well, I just want to make sure you weren't aside from everything you just mentioned, there's also Joe Biden ain't doing so hot. People are pissed off because you know how many promises he has kept? One. The nothing will fundamentally change one. Oh, wait, no, I'm sorry. Two, I won't ban fracking. He's kept those two promises. Those are the only two he's kept. Nothing will change. I won't ban fracking. Everything else, he hasn't delivered on, and people know it. His approval numbers are pretty much in the toilet, as they should be. The United States is a complete horror show. We are declining and declining. We are a failed state on every level. I never thought it would ever look this bad in my lifetime. I don't think anyone did. It's freaking gross. And he's the guy, sitting in the captain's chair, shockingly. I mean, it's amazing the way he failed his way up to president. But anyway, that aside, so they know that. Whenever someone's in that seat, we need a war, baby. They did the same thing with George W. Bush. Is it any big surprise that Joe Biden's State of the Union was a mix of the hits from Donald Trump and George W. Bush? That's what that State of the Union was. We talked about it on this show. That was a rollout of some George W. Bush hits and some Donald Trump hits. That's what Biden pulled from. He didn't even pull from Obama, for crying out loud. He pulled from Bush and frickin' Trump. Where, hey, I need to be tough on Putin. We need to do this. The people of Ukraine, blah, blah, blah. That's what he's going to hang his hat on. He's going to hang his hat on that for the rest of his presidency to avoid having to actually do anything for people. That's what he's going to do. I mean, it already happened. They just approved a bunch more aid to Ukraine. Well, just shrugging at the idea of any student loan forgiveness. That article dropped recently. They just approved all that aid to Ukraine for weapons.
Yeah, I want to show you this real quick. Here's what you're talking about. House passes 1.5 trillion spending plan. Ukraine in, COVID funding out. Bipartisan support passed 361 to 69. I always tell people, when you hear bipartisan support, the American worker, the regular American citizen just got jammed in the ass. The House on Wednesday approved measures to ban Russian energy products, provide billions in assistance to Ukraine, and fund government through the fall, but only after Democratic infighting forced party leaders to remove more than $15 billion in COVID aid from the package. Ron, doesn't that make you excited? Just doesn't that get you like...
There's a word for that. There's a word for when a society spends money all around the globe to pad the pockets of a few while setting the world on fire at the behest of the profits of a few, while people at home suffer and have a complete declining quality of life. It's called an empire. That's the word for it. That's always been the word for it. And you know what happens to every empire? It frickin' falls. That's what happens every single time. We're just another empire.
It's insane. And it's the other thing too. No one, and the thing that I watch here when I see, like, what I always say on the show, follow the money, connect the dots, get the truth, right? So you see where obviously the military industrial complex, they spent $49 million in the 2020 campaign across both parties to ensure that we're going to vote for war. And that's what they paid. I mean, that's what you get. You get a $1.5 trillion plan where most of the money goes for military aid, and to NATO. And, we're sending all this military. Everything's getting ramped up. If you live near any military base in the States, you're hearing and seeing more activity around that base than you've heard in the last 6 months to a year. So you're seeing more jets flying. You're seeing more people get deployed and all this stuff. And this is what is happening. And this is why I think this always signifies the end of an empire, when they spend all this money on war, don't take care of their own citizens, and they just get tangled up in all these wars. Look what, as I was pointing out, so if Russia and China and India and Pakistan and Iraq and Iran and the UAE and Saudi Arabia, they're all kind of going, you know what, we're actually going to line up. Asia and Central Asia, we actually might line up, but we're kind of sick of the West. And the West is literally America, Canada, Australia, and then Western Europe. That's not a lot of countries, man. That's not a lot. And and I want to get your take on this. So that, no stimulus for the American worker, which you and I have just talked about our own YouTube shows. We're dependent upon Patreon and donors and stuff like that. And since unemployment ended in September, we've all seen a downtick in that, just from our own businesses. I know other people who run other businesses say, yeah, when the unemployment ran out, everybody kind of saw it, the money come, and whatever industry they were in just kind of come down just a little bit. We're seeing inflation has been through the roof. Gas in California is now getting up near $6 a gallon, and we're all told, thanks to George Takei, just suck it up and pay high gas prices. A millionaire is telling you to pay high gas prices. That's how we're going to stick it to Putin. Joe Biden said that in his dumb State of the Union speech. This feels like, how many Americans are going to be standing with Ukraine 3 months from now when the gas is $7 a gallon in the summer, inflation is through the roof? And what if we have any sort of economic downturn, like a recession? Don't say the R word, but like, what if anything like that happens? Americans are going to be like, what? Why am I paying more in gas for any of this stuff?
Yeah, I mean, I never at this point can wonder like, well, what's it going to take? Because I'm always just surprised that it's like, oh, people are still taking this. So, I mean, it's at this point where they are just trying to feed you this absolute bullshit of like, oh, yeah, it's because of Putin that the gas prices are higher, blah, blah, blah. When you actually look at the percentage of oil we even get from Russia, it's way more than that. I mean, it's way the reasons for gas prices, that is. I mean, this is just them inflating it to try to drum up consensus and to try to just pad the pockets. I mean, the oil companies are soaring right now.
They have
They're
record
not
profits.
losing. They have record profits. So
and they're acting like the thing that's so nuts. They're having record profits and they're acting like, oh, this Russia thing is like the cost to get oil or change is cost. No, it's not. Like, what are you talking
it
about?
really isn't. I mean, in the percentages isn't even that high, and they're going to try to use this. I mean, they already are, but they're going to try to use this to drum up production domestically. They're going to try to be like, oh, we got to turn Keystone back on. We got to keep doing DAPL. We got to do this. Meanwhile, all that energy doesn't stay domestic anyway, and it's a small drop in the bucket, no pun intended, compared to a real energy solution, which of course is getting off of fossil fuels. But that's what they're going to try to pull next. So, yeah, I mean, Americans have to say we can't take anymore. Like we have to say we're done. I mean, and I've been saying that for years. I've been saying that since the start of the pandemic. I'm like, general strike or bust. Like that's really the only choice. That's really the only freaking choice. There is no other. I mean, no one. What if we threaten a general strike? Not good enough. You know what? I can give you an example because here's a couple micro strikes that happened. John Deere and IATSE. John Deere got exactly what they wanted for the most part. IATSE didn't. What's the difference? John Deere actually went on strike for about 180 days. IATSE just threatened it. So no, a threat's not good enough. You have to, I mean, there has to be a legit general strike. That will not be fun. That will not be easy. And I don't even know how such a thing can really be orchestrated. It's going to take a lot of brain power from all of us. But if there's another solution, I'd love to hear it. I don't see how there is any other solution other than just, plummeting into straight up feudalism, which some would argue we're already there.
I mean, there's been sort of an unofficial general strike in the sense that the great resignation. I mean, a lot of people just like, nah, I ain't working for your crappy wages. I'm not participating in this. And people are just like done. And now that gas is going to be, $6-7 a gallon, you're already seeing it. I mean, I don't know. Anybody who's gone to the grocery store in the last 3 months, oh my goodness, is it noticeable? And it's not a 7% inflation. It's 20 to 30%. Every product I'm buying almost is 20 to 30% more. So you're telling me my $100 grocery bill is now a $120 grocery bill? That's a lot of money. And now it's my $50 gas tank fill up is now $60 or $70 tank. Like, you got to be kidding me. I mean, yeah. So I just think America is really painting itself into a corner here. And, I'm sure the Democratic Party is begging for Trump to run again just so they can go, oh, the bad guy. So you just have to vote for whatever awful Joe Biden, Kamala Harris presidency we're going to vomit out in front of you with the worst approval ratings ever. I mean,
I honestly think they wouldn't win.
Yeah, they might not.
I mean, I don't even know if they'd win, to be honest with you. I think Trump could make the argument like, hey man, when I was in office, at least you got some relief. I mean, dude, honestly, I mean, I don't even know if they'd be able to beat him a second time around. I mean,
they
maybe,
might not.
but
I mean, because you're talking, and the thing that's just driving me insane is before what is happening in the Ukraine, Joe Biden had signed more drilling permits in his first year than Trump did. He wouldn't do student debt forgiveness, something he could do with just executive action, which he did, obviously didn't mention in the State of the Union. You and I talked about that.
Yeah,
he mentioned climate, but he didn't say, "Oh, climate change is real." And we're gonna talk about the IPCC report in a little bit, but like no mention of any of this. And then we're just talking about more war and this spending that just took out COVID relief. I mean, all these big companies on Wall Street who got forgivable government loans, but small business owners, we have to pay them back.
Yeah.
Right. I had to get an SBA loan to keep this going, and I have to pay it back eventually. Like, they've delayed when I have to start payments. It was supposed to be October of last year. Now it's going to be October of this year, but they won't, and they could just go, no, you don't have to pay that, Graham. You're good. Just like they did for Wall Street, which has had record profits. We have 100 new billionaires during the pandemic. And now you're telling us we got to pay more at the pump to stick it to Putin? Like, what?
Yeah.
It's insane. Like, and I'm sorry, but like, I don't like Putin. I wish he would pull out of the Ukraine. I don't like that he's doing this, but like, if the international community is going to hold America accountable for its human rights violations, we wouldn't have been invited to an international sporting event for the last 20 years.
No, we wouldn't be allowed to leave our backyard.
No, we wouldn't be able to fly anywhere. No one would let us fly anywhere. Like, we would all be stuck driving around America, going to, theme parks and sporting events because no country would let us fly in there.
That'd be all we could do. Theme parks. Oh, that sounds so miserable.
Oh God.
Just like, nothing but it's like, you want some culture? Six Flags. That's all we got.
Oh God. Raging Waters.
There's a Bon Jovi cover band. It's the only live music you get for the rest of your life.
Oh, you want to go on vacation? You get to eat at Toby Keith's restaurant. That's your big holiday trip. Like,
he'd have freedom fries on the menu too.
It's so insane. All right, Ron Placone, you got some tour dates coming up?
I do, Graham. In April, I'm going to be out east for a little bit. I'm going to be in Pittsburgh, Toronto, Ottawa, Montreal, Burlington, Vermont, Portland, Maine, Boston, Massachusetts, and New York City. Jill Stein's going to join me for a tune in Boston. That's pretty exciting. And Chris Moen's going to be opening those dates. Lauren Ashcraft will also be on the show in Pittsburgh and New York. You can get tickets for all those shows at ronplacone.com. And then in the summer, I'm going to be at the Reykjavik Fringe Festival. I don't know all the details there yet, but everyone in Iceland, I'll be at the Reykjavik Fringe Festival when that's going on. When I have my show times, I'll be letting you know. And, I'm calling the tour in April the Poutine Not Pipelines Tour. And somebody told me, they said, you know what, Ron, they're taking poutine off menus in Canada because poutine, I guess, is French for Putin. Like, it can also mean, so I'm not changing the name of my tour, though. That's ridiculous. When I named it Poutine Not Pipelines, clearly I meant fries with gravy, and the name of my tour is not changing.
All right, well, I'm excited for the fries with gravy tour, Ron.
That's right.
Folks, I have a live show April 6th. I'm headlining the Blue Note in Waikiki. Go to GrahamElwood.com, and I'll be adding more tour dates. Might be coming to Chicago, might be doing some live government secrets with Lee Camp over the summer. We might be going to Europe. So stay tuned. Go to GrahamElwood.com. Thanks for joining us, Ron Placone. Boom. Hey, everybody. Thanks for watching. We are still in our 9th month of demonetization from YouTube. So support what we're doing at patreon.com/GrahamElwood or rockfin.com/GrahamElwood, which is a blockchain cryptocurrency platform. It's free to sign up, and there's a premium level at $10 a month. And for that, you get everybody on the platform's premium content. Myself, Lee Camp, Ron Placone, Jimmy Dore, Whitney Webb, Kim Iverson, Abby Martin, and many, many others. You can also support what we're doing at Venmo at Graham-Elwood. And go to GrahamElwood.com. We have a PayPal button and a P.O. box. I also have crypto wallets, which are all in the show notes. Thanks for supporting what we do.